we continue to endeavor to answer the question, what is the proper authority? Or how, as ordinary beings, do we know when we've passed through a rite of passage to become initiates, adepts? Several evenings ago, it was mentioned that we need to understand the stories being told at several levels. The first level is that level in which we understand its moral or its teaching. The second is to recognize its symbols, its archetypes, its motives. And the third is, when bringing together the subjective and objective, to have the ability to be able to express our understanding. But it was also mentioned that there is another level, and that is that all stories have a secret hidden in their depths. So this evening, the challenge is put out to you in your discussions to find this secret. Groksha was a young boy who was born to a very poor incense maker. But in order to keep the family with food on the table, Groksha was indentured to become a cowherd. But he found this occupation very pleasant, spending days in the pastures on the mountains, watching the cows, watching the sun come over the mountains. So day-to-day life was very pleasant for him. But one day there was a great roar of thunder, and suddenly a huge presence appeared before Groksha and the several cowherds that were lying in the grass. It was the great God Minapa. And with a roaring voice, he pointed into the distance and he said, "You see those vultures flying around? They are waiting for the death of a prince who was beset and has had his arms and legs severed from his body. Who will help him?" Without a moment's hesitation, Groksha jumped up and said, "I will." But then he had a thought, and he said to the god Minapa, "But if I take care of this, you must take care of my herd." But Minapa agreed. So Groksha went in the direction that the god had pointed. And there, under a tree, with his life blood seeping into the ground, was the prince. Immediately, Groksha tore his clothing to make rags, to bind the terrible wounds, and made him comfortable. He then returned to Minapa and told him what he had done. Minapa thanked him and said, "What will you do to take care of the prince?" And Groksha said, "Every day the farmer gives me food. I will share it with him." But the god Minapa said, "Also, there are 4 things that are needed to keep him alive. He must have food, water, sleep, and defecation. Will you take care of these?" And Groksha said that he would. So every day from that time on, Groksha took food to the prince, fed him, cleaned his wounds, cleared away the excrement from the place where he laid. And the years passed. One day, Groksha went with the food as usual to give it to the prince, when to his very great surprise, when he arrived there, the prince stood up with 2 sturdy legs and 2 muscled arms. The prince looked at Groksha and said, "Close your mouth, a fly might blow in." And then the prince said, "The god gave me a mantra, a form of meditation that I have been practicing. And through these practices, I have become whole again." The prince floated in levitation above the head of Groksha and said, "If you want, I will teach you this meditation." And Groksha said, "Thank you, noble sire, but I already have a guru, and I have been serving him all of these years." Minapa appeared to Groksha to ask him how was the prince doing. And Groksha was able to tell him that he was now whole. So Minapa thanked Groksha for his dedication and gave Groksha initiation and empowerment. He also taught him precepts to follow to attain the goal of liberation. Immediately, Groksha set out for a far country where he practiced what his guru had taught him. After some years, Minapa appeared to him again and said, "You have now reached a certain level of adeptship, but now, to embark on the path of liberation, you must initiate 100 million people." Immediately, Groksha went out into the world and he initiated everyone he met. But after some time, when this came to the notice of one of the other great gods, that god descended and scolded Groksha. He said, "How can you initiate everyone? You may only initiate those who are seekers and come to you for teaching and have purified their karma." So after this, Groksha only initiated those who had attained a certain level of purification. And being in this place, he was able to discern the ripeness of a soul. He came to know how to read when someone was ready to receive initiation. But he still initiated many, many thousands of beings. And of course, he did attain liberation. And he's known as the divine cowherd, Groksha. His name means keeper of the herd. And for those who are ready, they can hear his drumbeat. For those who are not, they know nothing of him. As you gather together to discuss this story, perhaps you can structure your discussion so that you traverse those levels. What is its lesson? What is its teaching on that mundane level? What is it that we comprehend and understand of its motives, its archetypes, its symbols? And in this place where meditation brings us, where the subjective and objective come together and merge, to be able to express that understanding. And strangely, it's only in this place that we have the possibility to learn the secret within the story. The challenge is put out to you. Again, reminding you that our gatherings together are to answer the question, how as ordinary beings, not in some secret society where we've been through those processes that bring us to the point of rite of passage, how do we as ordinary people know that indeed we have passed through a rite of passage to attain adeptship, to become initiates? But first, the story. Please.